Hiya, homeschool families. Kelly Harrell here, and today I have a video for you about grammar and different types of grammar curriculum or helps that might be fabulous on your homeschool journey. Now, remember, the area of language arts is pretty immense. We have our phonic and spelling uh, section of it, we have our literature or reading part of it, and now we are getting into our grammar portion of it. And following this video, you'll want to check out my video on writing because that is the other aspect within our language arts program. So if you think of how language arts is kind of broken down into little pieces during the day, language arts will take up the bulk of your day because there are so many different aspects to it. So the phonics and spelling portion should probably take between 20 and 40 minutes a day. The literature reading portion of it, again, depending on the grade level and the skill set of your student, should take between 20 and 45 minutes a day, okay? Now the grammar portion, that really is just like around 20 minutes a day, maybe a half hour for the older kids. Grammar really is important though, and the reason grammar is important is so that students can understand the words that make up our English language and also the rules of how we bring them together to form our sentences. So while this is important for writing, it does have its kind of own category. This is a curriculum that a lot of homeschool families default to. And by looking at the title, I bet you can guess why. That's right. It has it in the name, easy grammar. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This is not my favorite curriculum. And after my kids did it for about a year, they kind of hated it. This is the reason why. They take one aspect or one subject in grammar and they beat it to death. I kid you not when I say there was probably about 2 weeks worth of work on prepositions in the beginning. That's like the first unit that the kids do, and they do prepositions. And I remember my son saying, will prepositions ever end? Like, I'm so over prepositions. So was not my favorite by any means, but well, if you're looking for something easy and you just want to get by, this could be one for you. It is very much student driven. It has a very small explanation and then it has the work that follows. So again, not my favorite, but it is there. Grammar should start as early as kindergarten, and in order to do grammar with the younger kids, my recommendation to you is to check out in different teacher stores or like Lakeshore, stuff like that. Look for teacher resource books for grammar, for kinder, and for first grade. You don't need to beat it into the ground. They just need exposure at those ages, okay? And so they need to understand what is a noun. They need to understand what is a verb. They need to understand the different types of sentences. This is grammar for our little ones. But then as they get into the older grades, they do need more exposure, more in depth. While easy grammar gives them a lot of exposure, especially in specific areas, and it does go somewhat in depth, it's not, it doesn't give them exposure to as much as other grammar programs do. So I will tell you my very favorite grammar program is Saxton Grammar and Writing. It's like Saxton also has a math program. It's SAXON. But Saxon came out with a grammar writing program probably about 6 years ago. And they started in, I think, 5th grade, but now they actually have a grammar writing program starting in 3rd grade. Now, I highly recommend this for homeschool families for several reasons. One reason is it is an extremely easy program to follow and maneuver through. You get 3 books with it. I'm sorry, I don't have all of them, but I do have the teacher's guide. You get a teacher's guide, you get a student grammar workbook, and you get a student writing workbook. All of them are considered consumable, so that is super nice as well. In the very beginning of the teacher's manual, it has a breakdown telling you school day 1, have your students do grammar lesson 1 and writing lesson 1. And really, if you do this, I'm going to tell you, like, it ends up being about between 20 and 40 minutes a day, depending on the ability of your child and the structure of it as well. Then it says school day 2, you're just going to do grammar lesson 2. And it continues to go down, and it works in your writing lessons. So what's nice about this, and we'll talk about writing in another video, but what I want to point out with this is very directed writing. It's going to teach your students start with how to write a sentence, and then paragraph, and then an essay, and then the different types of essays. So that's all really important. But it doesn't overwhelm them with it. It breaks it down into smaller chunks. So in the in-between time, when your student is just doing their daily grammar lesson, then they can go ahead and they can do journal writing, or they can do a specific writing project you have with them. Maybe you're doing novelties with them and you like them to do the writing prompts in novelties. Well, they can do those writing prompts in the novelties on the days that they're just doing the grammar. And then on days that they don't have grammar, Saxon in this program is going to have them do writing, and then they're going to jump over to there. The other thing too is if your student is taking a writing course, then you could just skip the writing if they're getting that in an actual writing course, or it can be a good supplement to the writing course that they're taking. Either way, this program is very, very structured. And it's broken down really well so that the student can be an independent learner, but it also gives you, as the parent and as someone who might not have had this grammar training in the past 20 years, it gives you all the information you need. It has different categories. It starts out here with capitalization, and then every lesson is about a certain type of capitalization. So you have a lesson on proper nouns. You have a lesson on the first word of the sentence and why it's important to capitalize that. The pronoun I, the first word in a line of poetry. So it's not, it doesn't just give them this bulk and then kind of just spit it out in 5 lessons of capitalization. It's going to go very specifically into all these different areas. And then after you finish capitalization lessons, it's going to get into punctuation. And it talks about the period, the comma, quotation marks, italics, or underlining the exclamation mark. So in the student book, it has the lesson that the student reads, or you can read along with your student if you want that to be kind of a directed teaching. That's totally great. Then it has the independent practice. Then what's awesome is it has a review that goes with it. Okay, that way your student doesn't forget what they've learned. At some point in the program, maybe about halfway through, it does introduce sentence diagramming so that the students can understand what that is, and they can understand and they're recognizing all the different portions of the sentence. Now, I will be honest with you, this is such a comprehensive program. One of the things I loved about it was so comprehensive that I had my kiddos do it from 5th to 8th grade, and then they didn't have to do any grammar in high school because they knew it all. because this program is so comprehensive. That's what you want. You do not want your student to go into high school not understanding grammar or saying, what's an independent clause? What's a dependent clause? Um, that is super important to lay the way for their high school writing as well as their college writing. I always told my kids the purpose of junior high was to get you ready for high school. Purpose of high school is to get you ready for college. This grammar program, the Saxon grammar program, will get your students ready for their higher level of writing, which is super, super important. With the review, one of the things I did was I wouldn't have my kids do all of the review problems. I would have them do evens or odds, or if it was a busy day and they had classes, a lot of times on those busy days, all they would do is read the lesson and do the new work and not do a review. So it's really super nice to have that option as well. So there's also another type of book that you can get for your student, and this is called Daily Language Review. Now, I need to make a point because a lot of parents pick one of these up and they're like, oh, I have my grammar curriculum for the year. This is not a grammar curriculum. This is a review, okay? This is not going to have the teaching that your child needs to be successful in grammar and writing. I promise you. What this has is this has different skills that they should have learned in their curriculum, and then they're applying it little by little every day. Now, I did use one of these as a supplement where my kids would do just a little review every day of, and so they have like, write the sentence correctly, rewrite the sentence to fix the misplaced modifier. Why does the bold word in the sentence matter? Okay, so it has like 3 or 4 questions every day. It doesn't take a ton of time. It takes like 10 minutes. But I tell you, once I moved on to Saxon grammar, I ditched that book because my kids were getting the review almost every single day. And I really liked how Saxon had laid it out. So again, the daily language review, you guys, that is not teaching grammar to your students. That is helping your students to apply the grammar. Now, the other way that you can teach grammar is you can go on various websites such as Super Teacher Worksheets, and you can pull out the different grammar worksheets for that grade. Something to be aware of though is whatever state you're in, if you're going to be doing that, I highly recommend you pull up the state standards for your grade level so you make sure that you are not missing anything. You might say, well, Kelly, is it really necessary for my kids when they're older to diagram a sentence? Not really. That's not really necessary, but it's necessary that they understand all the different parts of the sentence because that ends up determining your punctuation and what you do with that. So it's fine if you're kind of a worksheet person and if you love the internet and you want to research that, by all means, you can go through and you can research that for yourself. Just make sure that you are hitting on all the different grammar components that your child needs for that grade level. Some phonics and language programs such as Sing, Spell, Read, and Write will have different grammar highlights throughout the curriculum, and that is super great for your kindergarten and for your first grade. But once you get into second grade, I think you kind of need to rev that up a little more, and you do need more direct teaching in grammar, like on a daily basis. And then also, if you don't have it, maybe something like the daily language review. I'm sorry, I came up with something else and it totally left me. When you're student gets older, you might also get them different resource books. My daughter loves to write. She's a girl after my own writer's heart. And now the truth about writers is a lot of times we are so focused on the creative side, we aren't as focused on grammar. Or maybe if you're a writer, you're like me, and I swear they never taught me grammar rules in junior high or elementary school. Or they changed so much, I just don't even know what they are anymore. So I got my daughter a book in eighth grade, and part of her eighth grade grammar, actually, I think we kind of ditched the Saxton in eighth grade for her. And I got her Proofreading Secrets of Bestseller Selling Authors by Kathy Ide. That is a fabulous book if your kiddo wants to be an author, because it will break down all these various grammar rules according to the Chicago um, editing style guide. I'm sorry, I butchered that. I don't even know what it is, but that's basically like all the book editors, they refer to that. That's kind of like their Bible when it comes to grammar. And so I gave that to my daughter, and her goal for her eighth grade school year was actually to read through that and make sure that she consistently applied those rules within her writing. And that has been a really, really good thing for her. Um, and really, once your students get into like seventh and eighth grade writing, I would encourage them, like if you are still grading their writing, then please go back and have them research. Like if they got the comma wrong, make them figure out, why is this comma in the wrong place? Or I need you to figure out why you need a comma here, because that's really how they're going to learn. Not just by you editing their papers for them, but by you making them research how they got to that answer. Another homeschool program I wanted to throw out there that's kind of old school, but I know a lot of homeschool families really, really liked it, is Shirley English. And Shirley English is a grammar and a writing program. It is very teacher directed. So it's not as much a workbook that is student directed, but you are the teacher and you are teaching this step-by-step grammar lesson that could be 20 to 30 minutes a day. So if that is something that you're interested in, then you might want to check that one out. Um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to tell you about grammar. Sometimes it kind of goes by the wayside. Um, and I'm, like I said, as an author, I haven't always found it that important either. But I will tell you, as I've gotten further along in my writing career, and as my own children have gotten further along in their educational career, grammar really is important, especially when they get into college and they're doing college writing, because they need to really understand um, all the different rules so that they can be successful in writing papers, because they will need to write papers across the board for their history classes as well as their English classes, even for their science classes and humanities and psychology, and it goes on and on. And while different teachers might have different expectations, it's important that they know the basics. So don't be that homeschool family that just decides, it's not important because I didn't learn it. You might need to learn it all over with your kid. The other thing that is important to remember with grammar, and really any workbook based or worksheet based program, is that you give your student immediate feedback on their work. Make sure that you are grading the lessons. They give you a teacher's guide for a reason. All of the answers are in here. So make sure to correct it. And if you're not correcting it every day, because I know as a homeschool mom, sometimes you're just exhausted, at least every other day, but really make it your goal to correct it every day and to give them that feedback. Because if you don't, they are just going to go by the assumption that they are right, especially if they're preteens or teenagers. They will believe that they are right unless you show them otherwise. Um, so not only is teaching grammar important, but it's important to correct it as well. If you have questions about this area of homeschooling or any other areas, feel free to contact me. I would love to chat with you. You got this.